Again this year, I attended the annual Williamsburg program, Working Wood in the 18th Century. It is always an inspiring event for me. I return home with new ideas and motivation for new projects. I also find it challenging to represent these projects in SketchUp. This time I've chosen the wine cooler that Brian Weldy and Jonathan Hallman demonstrated. Jonathan is a cooper at Williamsburg, and his skills were critical in making the wine cooler. Made in the late 1700s, it incorporated barrel-making technology with individual staves of complex compound angles. I started with these two shapes representing the ellipse axes and the angled depth. The first thing I did is chose the circle tool and set it for 20 sides and placed it along the long ellipse axis. Now I'm rotating it just slightly here so that I've got perpendicular sides at both quadrants or all quadrants of the ellipse. I'm going to be using the Follow Me tool, so it will be important to have that configuration. Now I've chosen the Scale tool, and holding down the Control key, I create the elliptical shape. I will use this shape then to execute Follow Me with a small profile that I set up here, and I will make the thickness 5/8 of an inch, and the bottom fits into a groove, and I'm setting up a 1/4 inch groove on the inside edge of all of these staves that will hold that bottom, that chamfered shape of the bottom. So tracing over these guidelines now, I'm creating that profile of the stave shapes. Let me just explode this and then make this temporarily a group. The profile's now a group. Since there's a lot of symmetry here, I don't need these crossing shapes anymore, and I only need a quadrant of the ellipse. So I'll define this quadrant again here with some edges up here on top, and then I can delete the rest of the ellipse and saving only the single quadrant. Now I'll select the path for the Follow Me, and then the Follow Me tool. Hover over the group, edit the group, and click. This creates the shape of each of the staves. I'll clean it up here a little bit, getting rid of some waste edges and faces, and we've got a groove for the bottom already built in. So these hidden line, the dotted lines here are, I do have hidden lines turned on, and I'll define the staves with some edges here. And boundaries. This is a half stave that I'll make a full stave later on. But I've forgotten I didn't edit the group, and I'm just going to explode. I don't need the group right now. And continue defining the edges of these individual staves. I think I ended up with 20 staves altogether. It helps to turn on X-ray while defining these edges. Okay. So we've got one quadrant, and I can, well, let's look at this groove now and see what, yeah, I've got some work to do on these, some faces filled in here, and I'll just clear that out. Well, and I must have deleted an edge over here. Let me put that back in. Okay, so we've got a clean groove for the bottom of the cooler. And all of the staves then are defined. I can copy the quadrant, bring it over here to the right, and right click and flip along the red direction. Bring this back, connect it. Half of the wine cooler is assembled. And select that half and shift it over onto the green axis. That copy, flip along green, and bring it back to connect at the corners. We've got a good start then on the cooler. The bottom needs to be made, and also I need to combine these two halves into one stave. I can draw a selection around this area here and then make it a component and call it stave, well, let's just stave A, and create, and I'll need to do that for each of the staves and do some editing to clean them up. On the ends also, I need to combine the two halves. Also, the bottom, it's a chamfered shape around the bottom, and it fits right into that groove. And I've got a final assembly then with the brass bands, two bands that hold it together. The nice thing is that I can take each of these staves after I've separated them and made them components and show several views with dimensions and data. Top view of the stave, showing dimensions and angles, and then a side view with information that'll help me build each of these staves. It's a complicated way of doing it. If I were a cooper, I would, like Jonathan, with lots of experience, I could possibly do it in an easier way.